It's finally time for me to sit down with all of you and talk about the new direction for this channel. I've been teasing it for the past week, been putting things together, getting everything laid out so I could finally have this discussion with you and take everything in a brand new direction that I, for one, am very excited about. It's going to be like starting essentially from scratch, but it's about damn time. It's about damn time to free myself from YouTube's algorithm and to create the content that I've always wanted to create at the rate that I want to create it, with the level of value and dedication and passion I've wanted to create it, and to no longer be shoehorned into the things that YouTube wants, and to only make the things that I want and that I know so many of you want. For the most part, I'll keep this short. YouTube's ecosystem is poop right now. It's terrible. I mean, you either feed into like outrage culture and the hyperbolic nature of just clickbaity headlines, you make empty, valueless content that, you know, panders to some sort of a narrative that you know is going to get people upset, it's going to get people to click on it, especially with the gaming stuff. It's just a complete poop pile right now. It's not really good. There are still people out there creating good content on YouTube, but they don't really use YouTube's monetization system to run their YouTube channel as a financially successful business. They use something like Patreon. They use outside sources. YouTube is just a platform where they deliver that content, but it's not the platform where they concern themselves about financial stability. That's what this new direction is all about. It's about abandoning that snake eating its own tail that is YouTube's algorithm. It's about pushing in a direction where we can abandon YouTube monetization altogether and instead build something new, build something that is driven by community and by the people who actually watch the content and who, in some cases, support the content financially via Patreon. It's about establishing a new set of ideas and therefore content that you can expect on the channel on a weekly basis. So no more, oh, we're just going to go from one game to the next, just kind of trying to hang in there, creating guides, following the next big thing. No more of that. If you've followed this channel for the past 3 years even, you've seen me dabble in that variety content. You've seen things like Mondays with Mo. You've seen my discussion pieces. And a lot of you want a lot more of that. You want first impressions for a variety of games. You want reviews for a variety of games. That is what this new direction is going to bring to the table. So, whether you are a Patreon supporter or not, and we'll talk a little bit more about Patreon in a second, you're going to have access every single week to 3 to 4 guaranteed pieces of content. So every single Monday, starting next Monday, this very day, next Monday, you'll get access to Mondays with Mo. Mondays with Mo is going to go up live every single Monday, as the title says, and it is a very nostalgia, history-driven piece of content. It's all about revisiting old games, typically very esoteric or niche games that didn't really get a lot of attention, but we might also revisit ideas and consoles and discussion pieces on, certain generations for something like Xbox Live. Maybe we'll talk about translucent controllers like I've done in the past with a little short video I did. Maybe we'll talk about, old headsets. Like, it's just all about nostalgia, about looking at the past, my past for gaming, and then revisiting it when possible. And sometimes giving you guys the opportunity to say, hey, you should go check this old game out. Come play this old game with me. Come play this ridiculous Xbox 360 third-person cover-based shooter that was like no one played but was still really cool. That's what Mondays with Mo is all about. I've done it in the past, so if you actually want to go back and watch some old episodes, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description below. Now, Tuesdays are Mo Talks. The reason I say 3 to 4 pieces of guaranteed content each week is because Mo Talks won't always happen. I won't always have a brand new fleshed out discussion piece ready for you, but when I do, it'll happen on Tuesday and it'll be called Mo Talks. If you watched my recent The True Genius Behind Sekiro Shadows Die Twice video, it's going to be stuff like that. Very specific discussion pieces that look deeper into upcoming games that I'm currently playing. For example, I really want to have a big old discussion on how From Software handles doors in the Soulsborne and Sekiro franchise now. Like, all the cool stuff they do with their doors. And I know that sounds crazy, like, okay, you're just going to talk about doors, Tony, but there's so much more to it, right? And that's kind of the point. It's to look deeper into the games we play and to ask ourselves why these little things have as much value as they have, even if that value exists for just a few mere moments. So that's what that's going to be about. Really fleshed out discussion pieces, sometimes hyper detailed, sometimes more nuanced, sometimes a little bit more general. All that stuff will happen when it does happen with Mo Talks on Tuesdays. Now, Wednesdays are much of the same. As long as I have a new game to talk about, I'll be bringing you guys first impressions of the games I'm currently playing. A lot of you have been asking for something like this, and I always loved and respected the format that Total Biscuit did with his WTF series. The idea of just playing the first 5, 6, maybe sometimes the first dozen hours of a game, whatever you feel is necessary to get a true sense of whether or not that game is enjoyable or where that game is doing things right, and then share that with everyone else. An opportunity to let people know what a game is like the first few days after it releases without having to play all the way through it and do like a full-blown review, to give people who might be on the edge of the fence about purchasing that game an additional resource to help them make that decision, to help them decide whether or not they purchase said game. I play a lot of games, indie games, big games, and we'll be covering all of that stuff in that first impression series. For example, this Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Risk of Rain 2. I've been playing a lot of that in early access, and I have a lot I want to say about that. So if you're looking for my thoughts on that, that will be the place for that. We're also going to talk about The Division 2 at some point. I've been meaning to do that. And again, because we're not really tied down by any need for like the video to do really well from a view count perspective, I can just create the discussion pieces when I want them, how I want them, without a concern for like their relevancy in YouTube's algorithm. All that matters is that you guys enjoy the content, that it's something you want, that it's something you'll get value out of. That's going to be the big part of this. Skipping past Thursday to Friday, we're going to have a weekly news series called The Weekly Reload. It's exactly what it sounds like, looking back at the previous week and discussing all of the big news things that happened. So, you know, if it's an announcement for a new game, a reveal, maybe we got some information on like the next generation of consoles, you know, whatever it might be, those big headlines, we'll be breaking them down and talking quite a bit about them in the Weekly Reload. That will run anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the discussion pieces we have. It'll definitely be littered with a lot more quick stuff like, oh, new game is going to be releasing this day, and this happened here. And then we'll hone in on a couple topics that I feel deserve a lot more discussion. For example, this Friday, we might still talk about the whole Kotaku Jason Schreier BioWare Anthem article, since I didn't get a chance to do that this past Friday, and I think that there's a lot to be said about that. So that's it. That's kind of that whole week of like planned content. That obviously still leaves plenty of opportunities for other content here and there, but I've structured this on the basis that I am going to be picking up a second job likely in the very near future. YouTube's like just kind of like flatlined, you know, on its own. And it's time to bring in some more bacon. And that means picking up a second job again. So that's the way things are going to be. And that's why I've done it this way. So we can build this from scratch again, alongside of being able to go back to work. And then, you know, who knows, maybe one day, a year or 2 years from now, I'm a patient man. That's how I got 6 years on YouTube the way I have. We'll be able to go back to doing YouTube full time. And that's where Patreon really starts to come into play. So let's talk a lot more about that. Again, I'm never going to demand like support of you on Patreon. That's not the way anything in life works. It's all about earning your support. So if you like the structure of that content, if you follow along for 2 or 3 weeks and you decide, wow, I really like what he's doing here. I like all these, you know, like sort of retro discussion pieces, and I like the first impression stuff. Oh, I'll go support him on Patreon. So what do you get if you decide to do that? I've got 2 tiers. The first tier is called The Beautiful Bard. That is $1 or more. This tier is kind of like the thank you tier. Like, I like what you do. Here's $1. Thanks. And it also gives you access to the supporter Discord called The Tavern. Now, if you are a Twitch subscriber, you'll also have access to this once I activate it. That's going to be happening sometime this week. And if you're like a longtime supporter, so if you're somebody who is a Patreon member for like 3 or 4 months, I can see that stuff on Patreon. If you're a Twitch subscriber for 3 or 4 months, you're not just going to get like kicked from the Discord. You know, if you were like a longtime supporter who's always been there, who's like watching the content and participating in chat and posting comments, I know who you are. I see your names. I have ways in which I can tell how long you've been supporting. You know, I'll make sure that you retain access to that Discord. I'm just not looking to run an open Discord right now that has like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people right from the get-go. I'd rather have it ramp up slowly. And if in the very long-term future, we've got a bunch of people, I might open it up and make it open, you know, at a point when I feel like I have some good moderators I can maybe even pay at some point if Patreon's doing that well. So that's going to just be, we're going to see how that goes. Let it happen organically. Now, the next tier and the final tier is called the Pointy Hat Wizard. You can see there's a bit of a D&D roleplay theme to this. Is $3 or more per month. This gives you access, obviously, to the Discord, the Tavern, once again, but it also gives you access to 2 exclusive Patreon videos every month. Now, these are not like videos where people who don't support via Patreon are going to feel like they're missing out on content. They are not like gaming related discussion pieces. These are bonus videos. The Scrapyard is a sneak peek. It's a behind the scenes discussion piece type deal where I might be talking about videos that I didn't release and maybe talking about the ideas for them and sharing them with those people and saying, I never finished it, but here was the general idea. Or maybe we'll look at a video that I've already released and be like, I don't really like the way that went. I wish I could have done this better. And then we'll also be looking at the future. So if I've got like 3 or 4 video ideas on deck for like an episode of Mo Talks or Mondays with Mo, those are things I might talk about in that sneak peek. Kind of let people know what's coming in the next month or what could be coming depending on what I decide to actually finish and release. The Ramble is going to be a personal vlog, and I'm going to be using this to do a lot of cool things and test out some new things. We might be doing some vlogs in the car, some WRX vlogs, go for some drives, get back on the motorcycle, do some moto vlogs again. Maybe some cooking vlog stuff, some late night cooking vlogs. Just an opportunity to talk with you guys on a more personal level about things happening with me as a creator outside of just like, oh, YouTube's doing this and here's this discussion piece, just again, a more personal level thing where we can also have a little bit of fun, do some cooking, do some driving in the car, some fun stuff like that. But that's it. That's the layout. I think we actually managed to break everything down here. I'm recovering from a pretty nasty cold this past week, so I'm like having trouble remembering the things I talked about in this video, but I think we covered it all. Again, this is it. This is the new direction. Like I said, I'm at a point financially where I'm probably going to have to go pick up a second job again, and that's fine. This is all set up so I can do that alongside of that second job. But we'll see where things go. Maybe this will be something that takes off in 3 or 4 months and I won't have to worry about that. Maybe it'll be something that takes 2 years. At the end of the day, I do have a set of like basic goals. The first goal is $600 per month. This would be like a great supplement alongside of the little bit of money I know I'll still be making off of YouTube's monetization. It's AdSense. We will still be holding on to that. As we push past the $600 point into $1,500, we get to a point where like YouTube monetization matters a lot less. And I would probably start to disable it on a few videos, push into the realm where we have like a feature video every single week that is ad-free. And then if we get into $2,000, that's like, okay, goodbye. Like we can just kick YouTube's monetization right out the door. No more ads on any of my content. At that point, this channel would be entirely driven by Patreon. And that would be friggin' incredible. Honestly, even without leaving behind YouTube's monetization, the whole point of this, I really want to reiterate this, is to be able to do what I want, to create the discussion pieces I want. I've got so much cool stuff planned, things that I've just never done, because when you're running this as a business and your only source of income is AdSense, you're like, well, I've got to do things that make sense, that are going to get clicks, that are going to generate dollars. When you abandon that and you push in a new direction, you try and build the community via something like Patreon, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You just make what you want to make. You do cool holiday specials. I can go revisit the sort of like 10 days of Christmas game thing that I wanted to do, where I was going to revisit an old game every single day leading up to Christmas. Like, I want to do stuff like that. Stuff gets me so excited. That's like my true passion, is just talking about all these games. We're finally going to do that. This is it. This is that direction. This is that journey. This is that new business venture, if you will. I'm very excited about it. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And I hope I can produce something that comes across as valuable and important and enjoyable, that makes you smile, that makes you laugh, that warms you on the inside. Because some of my favorite content creators who have created successful businesses through Patreon, they make me feel warm and fuzzy when I watch their stuff. Movies with Mikey. I love what he does, man. It just makes me smile when I watch it. Makes me happy. I want to do that. I want to do that with games. That's it. Thank you guys so much. If you've supported me in the past, whether it was financially or just through watching the channel, sharing my stuff, doesn't matter. However you've supported this channel for however many years, however many days, I thank you so much. And those of you who are on Patreon, who have been on Patreon, and who might be on Patreon in the future, I thank you as well. You guys have helped me financially in more ways than you can imagine. Small things like buying new games to cover, and paying for like Photoshop subscriptions and Adobe subscriptions for a while, and buying new microphone equipment, and just all that stuff. It's all been so helpful, and I cannot thank you all enough for your support over the last 6+ years. We are not done. Join me on this new adventure. It's gonna be friggin' awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.